In the past few days, I was following up the news and in English and Arabic, in both. So what I found that the most of the discussions focused on medical questions, because this is normal, because people are very keen to practical issues that related to their actions and movement, especially daily movement. But actually, we rarely dealt, or we hardly can find ethical discussions or discussions on the ethical application of what we are facing now, the coronavirus, or epidemics in general. And even some people and governments even underestimated at the beginning the risk of the virus, and this is why we found that like the intensive work was very late, and then it looks like emergency case now in over all the world. But you know, even some people went very far because they ideologized the coronavirus based on political aspects or religious aspects to prove or demonstrate some ideas that they are interested in, whether it's niqab or, you know, or religious belief that they prevent them from getting infected by this virus, or, you know, and other political, for example, political interpretation of the virus, because this is a biological war, or was prevented by China or America, you know, against China, or the other way around, you know. So I believe that, you know, now people are getting, you know, taking this more seriously and more seriously than before. And I think we should address we should not avoid the ethical implications or applications of this epidemic phenomena. But why do we need ethics in this regard? So ethics usually helps us to set the rules or the priorities, to set our priorities, and to then set the right course of action that we should act or respond to this virus or epidemics in general. So, and even behavioral and institutional changes require usually ethical justifications to convince people, first of all, to act this way or that way, and then to do balance between different values. They might contradict each other, you know, to make it more understandable, and give some examples. Like, you know, we can when we talk about medical questions, we know that, you know, the key medical questions that our doctors and physicians are interested in, and even general public are interested in, you know, how can we stop this virus, you know, but and what treatment can we use to stop this virus, or such questions. But the applied ethical questions are like, you know, we have many applied ethical questions related to this, including, you know, if I am a doctor or the government, who should be treated first? If we have a huge number of people like Italy, what's happening in Italy and Spain nowadays, you know. So we should find criteria, because, you know, any medical system, any health system is not able to cover all this amount, a huge number of people at the same time. Ethical questions. So to answer this question, for example, we need to set a criteria. How can we behave? You know, and for example, do travel bans harm more than they help or not? And are we late to do travel ban, and why it was not done before, much earlier than nowadays, for example, you know? these are ethical questions should be answered, and even the research now, which research that should be top priority, nowadays for the research centers are related to this virus and epidemics in general. Should unaffected nations offer support for hard-hit countries, for example, and what type of this support that can be offered? So we have a lot of questions, ethical questions, can be raised and discussed when we talk about coronavirus. But I would like to just spotlight on key issues to show how this virus are linked or interacted with ethical discussions. So we can talk about 4 approaches to discuss the ethical aspects of epidemics. First of all, ethics of epidemics in itself. When we talk about isolation, quarantine, so how can we justify these? Can we go directly to quarantine before doing the isolation, or and how it should be? What are the moral responsibility of the individuals and the governments, etc. So this is just I'm not going to give more details about this. Maybe in the discussion we can talk about this, or you will address this, I think. So the second approach that can be raised here or mentioned, public health ethics. When we talk about public health ethics, we are talking about the policy, the health policy that should be made to prevent this virus from spread, to prevent spreading of this virus. Should we follow the priority of individual rights, or should we follow the community and the public interest? Which one should be prioritized over the other? Nowadays, we know that what's happening in France, for example, now, and Italy. They are very there were very restricted policies and actions. Now people are not even allowed to move outside their home in France without a certificate. It should be done online. So this raises an ethical question about the freedom, which is the basic. Maybe individual people find it like basic human right, but now in this emergency case, the situation is different, and this indicates to the level of the risk that the government aware of, because they have a lot more information than the individual people. So the third approach, it's ethics of emergency preparedness. Ethics of emergency preparedness, it has an exceptional treatment, because when we talk about emergency, we are talking about something like an ongoing narrative unfolding or drama unfolding. So it needs it's dynamic, and it needs decision making quickly, and quick decision making, and it can changes from time to time quickly, even the same day. It depends on the information and the estimation of the specialist people are based on what's happening on the ground. The fourth approach, it's normative and virtue ethics. So this is usually deal with the individual actions. So how it addresses the questions related to the individual characters and actions, how they should behave in this emergency case, and they should know that it's related to the cognition of destiny, the shared destiny, and as Dr. Leith explained, because this is not open for individual choices, because any action from any individual person will affect the others. So here we are not talking about individual or personal preferences this is why we should talk about relational autonomy, which affects other people. So finally, I hope that I didn't take so much time. So I would like to end up with key moral principles that govern our actions in epidemics, dealing with in response to epidemics, like for example, if we are talking about priorities, so the criteria, whether the criteria should be dealing with the sickest people, or we should deal with the most possible survival cases, or we should deal with young people or the old people first, so we can. There are disagreement about which criteria we should confirm here or rely on to behave based on it. If we are talking about usually we are talking about set of values in this regard, like the protection of life and health. We are talking about the value of individual liberty and ethical justifications. We are talking about justice and preparedness. We are talking about ethical responsibilities towards persons and groups, professional obligations and divided loyalties, etc. But we can talk about isolation and quarantine. When it can be justifiable or not, how can we provide ethical justifications for quarantine? So usually it's ethically justifiable when it's effective in controlling the disease or the epidemic. It's ethically justifiable when we talk about when it is proportional to the severity of the epidemics. It's ethically justifiable when it is necessary for controlling the epidemics. So it's justifiable, ethically justifiable when there is transparent between the government and the public. So to convince them and to let them know how the situation is, and to take the instructions, the government instructions, seriously. So for the principles of public health, we can talk about 4 principles: solidarity, efficiency, integrity, and dignity. So in the discussion, maybe we can give some more details. Finally, if we are dealing with liberty limiting practice, so there are 4 key moral principles that govern or values govern liberty limiting practice. These are preventing harm, proportionality, reciprocity, and transparency. So, and then we will leave some details for the discussion, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mutaz.